I'm going to start. My name is Tammy Lee. I'm the co-founder of a small semantic technology company called Culture Creates. I am not technical. This presentation will be a little different. My team and I build metadata infrastructure. I know that is technical, but I am not. And tools, we build metadata infrastructure and tools to help the arts in Canada stay visible and connected in the digital space. I'm from a country with many original Indigenous peoples. So I would like to take a moment to honor the fact that I'm joining you today from the unceded territory of the Gahegannaga Nation, the Mohawk Nation, here in Chukchoga, also known as Montreal. So we're going to go back to basics. What is discoverability? And I'm going to guess that many of you here have been involved or will be involved in some aspects of this. Whether you're writing documentation, designing APIs, structuring data, shaping user pathways, it's all part of how things get found, used, and understood. So to start, I asked Claude AI, what is discoverability? And here is Claude's answer. Discoverability is how easily people find what they're looking for or discover things they didn't realize they wanted. And it shows up everywhere. In apps where users need to find features, in data systems where information needs to be searchable, and in markets where customers stumble across products. The challenge is balancing structure with surprise. Too much organization kills serendipity, too little wastes people's time. The best discoverability creates intentional pathways while leaving room for happy accidents. The problem? Most of us design based on how we think about our own stuff, not how users actually behave. We know where everything is because we put it there, but users are starting from zero. 3 critical elements. Signal strength. Does it stand out from everything else, competing for attention? Pathway clarity. Are the routes to get there obvious or friction-free? Context. Does it appear when people are actually ready for it? Now, this is nothing new to anyone here. But what I'd like to do is circle back to a few parts of Claude's answer because they highlight some deeper issues. It shows up everywhere. It really does. In digital systems, in apps, in data systems, in markets, and I would add in APIs, in documentation, in content models, and in metadata that structures what machines actually see. So discoverability is built or broken by the structures underneath, because these structures underneath create intentional pathways. You know, how often do we really think about what's shaping these pathways? You can't create intentional pathways in digital systems without infrastructure. And that infrastructure is metadata. And people all morning have been talking about how important this is. It's the layer that directs what machines do with the information they encounter. It tells systems what something is, how it connects, when and where it should appear or not appear. No matter how good your design is, if metadata infrastructure is weak, discoverability breaks. If it's missing, things become invisible. And in an AI-first world, that invisibility has consequences. And even when things are visible, there are risks. You know, the way we structure things often reflects how we think about data. And we do this all the time. We design based on how we think and often not how machines process the data. Or at the very least, I am quite sure your clients will try to force you to design based on how they think, right? Because this is the tension. Humans think implicitly. We know what we mean. We see connections in our minds. Machines don't. Machines need to be directed. They rely on structure, or rather infrastructure. They rely on metadata to know what something is, how it connects, and how to surface it. When that structure is missing, discoverability breaks. When that structure is biased, the system reproduces that bias. And when it is absent, whole parts of knowledge, culture, and perspective can disappear. In an AI-first world, this is even more critical. AI systems are shaping public knowledge today through what they surface, summarize, and generate. And they learn and reinforce what structure is given to them or whatever we fail not to give them. So what really shapes discoverability in practice? Yeah. When you think, when you do this work, when you design systems, write docs, structure APIs, how often do we stop to ask who decides what surfaced, what's seen, what's lost? Signal strength, pathway clarity, and contextual relevance, these things don't just happen. They depend on structure, infrastructure. In other words, and I will repeat again, I know I'm repeating a lot. If metadata is weak, signals fail. If connections are broken, pathways break. If context is missing, things surface in the wrong place or not at all. This is where metadata really matters, because it's no longer about content. It's about what machines can read. So all morning long, in an AI world, content is not king. And I will say it again, metadata decides what's surfaced, what's seen, what's lost. So that means, in no uncertain terms, it decides what becomes part of public knowledge and what is erased. So this is the challenge we are working on in Canada. Let me put it this way. When you Google what is Canada, or the name of your own country, where do you want the answer to come from? From Google, or from the people, places, organizations, and culture that actually make up that country? For me, this is the real question. Because today, what AI systems see is scraped from the web. And that means sources are data shaped for commercial platform logic. And then machines then try to infer structure, and that process is closed. It reinforces what is already dominant, and it leaves out a lot. So what we've been building in Canada is different. We're trying, to give real people the ability to shape the infrastructure. Arts organizations use Footlight CMS to publish listings. Listings about events, venues, organizations, and artists. Arts organizations do this because they want that information to be public, to be seen, to be accurate. And that work, those listings, become structured data. That structure flows into arts data, an open knowledge graph about the arts in Canada. In an open knowledge graph, it could be reused, enhanced, and shared back again. So this is a living feedback loop, a knowledge graph shaped by people, not just machines. And as that structure, what we call public metadata infrastructure, gets reused across the web in feeds, in AI outputs, it teaches the next layer of systems what to surface. That loop shapes what becomes visible. It works today, but it's fragile. because it's not yet embedded in policy frameworks in Canada. I'm working on it. I'm getting close. But it shows what is possible. We work closely with national stakeholders in the Canadian arts and culture sector to create a minimum viable model, just enough to connect people, places, organizations, and events in an open knowledge graph. And then we gave these arts organizations an easy to use CMS tool so they can publish online information important to them without hiring a semantic expert. Essentially, my team built an open knowledge graph infrastructure with an execution layer for non-technical people, because this is not a technical issue. It's about who gets to shape what's seen and what's known in digital systems. And that brings me back to where I started. Discoverability is not neutral. It reflects who and what has agency in digital systems. In an AI-first world, discoverability, the infrastructure underneath, is what shapes public knowledge. So we have to ask ourselves, who would we like to decide what gets surfaced? How, why, what's seen, what's lost? You know, is it machines using metadata infrastructure created by commercial platforms? Or machines using metadata infrastructure created by people? Because this is about agency. Thank you. That's my speech.